Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Steven and welcome back. Alright, so in this video I want to um, explore and compare the Spanish words and the Spanish vocabulary we use in the United States versus, uh, you know, the Spanish vocabulary that is used outside of the United States. Pretty much, comparing, American Spanish to, quote unquote, Spanish, standard, neutral, global, international Spanish, right? And I use the quotes just in case, because some people may find it offensive that I refer to Spanish as, one standard and one's not. So to be PC, I'm using the quotes. All right. All right, let's jump into this. Here we go. All right. So in American Spanish, we have the word apartamento, right? And we use it to mean apartment. However, in standard Spanish, apartamento means like a studio apartment or a small apartment. Um, Like me personally, this is probably something that I could let slide because there's some Americanisms that I'm like, no, I can't be using that. And then others, I'm like, okay, I can kind of use that. Um, but yeah, so in standard Spanish, it is apartamento means studio apartment or small apartment. However, you know, outside of the United States, Spanish speakers tend to use departamento as apartment. Of course, this is a regional thing, but I think departamento is the most common. All right. All right. Next on the list. All right. Aplicar para, meaning to apply for, right? To apply for. As in, to apply for a job or a program, right? And that's, in American Spanish, you will hear aplicar, meaning to apply. Aplicar para, meaning to apply for a job or a program, right? But in standard Spanish, that means to apply as in to put on something or to make use of something, right? The word that we should be using in the United States is solicitar if we want to apply for a job or a program. Not aplicar para. No. The word that they use, that Spanish countries use across the board, is solicitar. And I think we use this because this word is just very similar to the English word to apply, but it's not correct, right? And that's the thing too. Like, sometimes I hesitate to, learn American Spanish because it's like in other Spanish-speaking countries, they're not going to be using this, and it's not correct, and it sounds weird. But you got to be able to spot, things that you should learn versus the things that you shouldn't learn, right? And that's kind of like part of the reason why I'm doing this video, right? All right. Next one, bodega. In American Spanish, this tends to mean a convenience store, perhaps a deli. I've heard that thrown around too, but usually a convenience store, more so, right? especially like in the New York area. In standard Spanish, however, bodega means like a wine cellar, right? I've also heard other meanings of the word too, but wine cellar is probably the most, quote unquote, standard meaning for the word bodega, right? Una bodega, right? However, for a store in standard Spanish, a convenience store or a store, they use tienda, una tienda. All right, on to the next one. All right. In American Spanish, they use the word departamento as department, of a government agency. However, in standard Spanish, departamento tends to be used as apartment, more so than a government agency. When we use or want to refer to a government agency in standard Spanish, they use the word ministerio, un ministerio, as a department of a government agency. Right? And this is something that I do see a lot in the United States. We do use this phrase a lot. This may just end up becoming like a regional thing, perhaps, This is one of those things that I might be able to let slide. Maybe. All right, on to the next one. Email. And, in American Spanish, they will say email, meaning email, right? It's the same in both American Spanish and English, email. They'll say email, right? But according to the, the Royal Spanish Academy, they don't recognize this word as a word. It doesn't exist, According, the Royal Spanish Academy, that governs the Spanish language overall, they do not recognize email as a word. All right. In standard Spanish, when you want to say email, you will use the phrase un correo electrónico, an electronic mail. Electronic mail. Very interesting. But I feel like email might just end up becoming a legitimate Spanish word over time for some reason, just because correo electrónico is a bit of a mouthful, while email is very easy to say. So I predict that email may become a word over time. A word that's recognized by the Royal Spanish Academy. All right, on to the next one. Hacer clic en o sobre, meaning to click on, right? In relation to computers, right? Like, click on the photo, right? Like, haz clic en la foto, right? In standard Spanish, this phrase does not exist, okay? When you want to say to click in Spanish, in standard Spanish, you use the verb posar. In the phrase posar sobre, like to click on. All right. But yeah, that's pretty interesting, actually, because I see hacer clic so many different places. And that's the thing. But yeah, the Royal Spanish Academy does not recognize that phrase at all. Very interesting, but people still using it, companies still using it, right? So it may end up becoming a phrase over time, perhaps, but I think this is like definitely like American Spanish for some reason. All right, next one, and this is a very interesting one right here. La Libreria, and in American Spanish we use La Libreria to mean library. I don't, me personally, I don't, but many people do. However, in standard Spanish, La Libreria means bookstore. In standard Spanish, when you want to say library, you say la biblioteca, not la libreria. That's a bookstore. But for some reason in America, in the United States, I hear that phrase. I'm not sure why, though. I'm not sure why. But yeah, definitely leave your comments about that one. I'm definitely interested in your opinions about that. All right, next one. All right, rentar, right? To rent. In American Spanish, we use rentar as to rent. You know, like an apartment. However, in standard Spanish, rentar tends to be used as to yield, parentheses, profit, right? Majority of Spanish-speaking countries besides Mexico use rentar as to yield profits. In standard Spanish, when, you know, people want to express the idea of to rent, they use the verb alquilar, usually instead. You know, in majority of places besides Mexico, they use alquilar to mean to rent. So yeah. All right. Next one. Surfear. I'm not sure if it's like, this is Spanish. Like, I think this one is definitely more like just Spanglish. Right? Surfear, meaning to surf in the water or the internet, right? Surfear. But the word doesn't exist. The Royal Spanish Academy does not recognize this as a legitimate word. Okay. If you want to surf a wave, you would say hacer surf or surf. I'm not sure if you say the English phrase or not. I perhaps probably should check that. Yeah, you say it the Spanish way, so hacer surf. Surf. So that's like to surf in the water, to surf a wave, right? To surf the internet, typically I hear the phrase navegar por internet. Internet, right? To surf the internet or to surf the net, right? But yeah, sometimes in English we tend to just turn a phrase into a verb, like, oh, surfear, oh, surfeo, surfeando, right? All right, so here's the last one. We have textear. In American Spanish, we often use, I don't, I do not, but we use the word textear as in to text, like, you know, to send a text message, right? To text. But that is not a actual word. You know, the Royal Spanish Academy does not recognize this as an actual word, right? People use it, but it's not an actual word. In standard Spanish, when they want to express the idea of, you know, texting and sending a text, they will say mandar or enviar un mensaje de texto, as in to send a text message, right? Yeah, but I feel like some of these words, particularly possibly like email and textear, may end up just becoming words, you know, anyway. Also, hacer clic. I think some of these phrases may end up over time. Just the Royal Spanish Academy may just end up accepting them as words, perhaps. You know, because so many people just end up using those words, right? But yeah, so that's my video. I hope you were able to, get something out of this video and learn something from this video as well. I hope you enjoyed this video too. As well, get you to think about some things, especially learning Spanish in the United States and perhaps reading certain publications that are published in the United States. Sometimes you do have to be careful of picking up certain words when you're learning the language as a foreign language, because you're like, this sounds like a good word to know, but then you come to find out this isn't the word you're supposed to use. This is like either used in a different context or the word doesn't even exist, right? So this is something that's really important to know if you really want to, learn about the language and really want to use the language. All right, so there you have it. Thanks a lot for watching. Adios and goodbye for now.